Church planting is something that we've been talking about for quite some time here at Calvary. And as the session has continued to work through that, along with other plans for the future, we decided that now was a good time to hold an interest meeting. And we're going to do that on Saturday, April 4th at 10:30 a.m. here at Calvary. The session will be a part of that. Leading that, Dave Homeland, our regional home missionary, is also going to be there at that time. And this is going to be a time to gauge interest of the congregation in church planting. We do not, as the session, have a specific agenda or plan to present to the congregation at this time, but this will be a time largely for the session to listen to those in the congregation who are interested in church planting and or even just curious in it and would like to explore that idea. Hear about your experiences, your wisdom, where you'd be interested in that, when you'd be interested in that, all sorts of things like that, and to spend a time of prayer together about that as well. Why now would we do that? Well, it's a good time. I don't know if I have to persuade you of that now's a good time to do that, but it fits well into the session's planning right now. We have a session retreat coming up at the end of April. And at that time, we're going to be putting together the big picture of where we're going as a congregation in the near term and in the long term here at Calvary. That is almost certainly going to involve a couple things. It's almost certainly going to involve seeking to obtain a larger facility. You already know that we have a building search committee working on looking at what it would take for us to get a larger facility. But we also want to look now into the possibility of planting even while we're in the process of looking for a larger facility. We think we need to do both of those things. We don't know exactly the timing of either of them, but we want to hear from the congregation your interest, and if it's something that we see as a good possibility for it in the near term, it's something we want to incorporate into our vision, our understanding of where we're going in the years to come. So if that's something you're interested in, come out to that meeting. It's on a Saturday, April 4th at 10:30 a.m. here at the church. And we'll get much more information out to you about that in the weeks to come. If you can't make it at that time, but you want to be a part of it, you want your voice to be heard, that's fine. We will give you the opportunity to do that in another way. And we will certainly record the meeting and make sure that we're communicating well about what comes out of that meeting as well. So more information to come on that. For now, you can mark your calendars for April 4th at 10:30.
Well, it's my privilege to talk about an important matter. And I thought I'd read from 2 Timothy 4 as we think about pastors and future pastors. Paul says to young Timothy, I charge you in the presence of God and of Christ Jesus, who is to judge the living and the dead, and by his appearing and his kingdom, preach the word. Be ready in season and out of season, reprove, rebuke, and exhort with complete patience and teaching. For the time is coming when people will not endure sound teaching, but having itching ears, they will accumulate for themselves teachers to suit their own passions, and will turn away from listening to the truth and wander off into myths. All right. It's our privilege to look to the Lord and see where He would lead us with regards to our next shepherd. As has been announced previously, Pastor Caleb Smith has received a call. Actually, what's been announced before is that he was contemplating receiving a call to serve as an evangelist in Southern California, to plant a church there as an evangelist by the presbytery, and he has actually received that call. And so they are in the process of processing that call, and so he has, by all accounts, the green light to move ahead with what he senses the Lord's calling in his life at this time. and that calling's been confirmed by the presbytery. So that puts us in a position of looking to the Lord for who might be our next associate pastor. As has been announced to you previously, the session was going to serve as the search committee, but we definitely were very interested in input from the congregation. And so in recent months, we put together a online Google Doc type of thing, and we're thankful for the many people who responded to that and gave us their traits and giftings and interest in what they're looking for in potential candidates, and even some potential candidates to consider. It's been very helpful, and thank you for all of you who participated in that, and know that that input has been received and gratefully considered. Calling an associate pastor has its own complexities. Oftentimes you're looking for a man who fits well with the congregation, but also fits well with your senior pastor. And so we very much desire and have an interest in Pastor Mark's thoughts on this as well. But the session appointed a subcommittee to serve as do a lot of the legwork of the search committee, and that search committee, sub-search committee, if you want to call it that, I guess, has labored well. They've considered about 15 different potentials, and very thankful to see that the Lord is of one mind, bringing that search committee and now the session of one mind to one man, and faster than we would have anticipated. The session is astounded at the qualifications of this man. I'm going to leave you in a bit of suspense. Spoiler alert. I can't tell you the name, actually. We hope to, but he has not informed his congregation yet, and so we're a little bit in suspense. But I'll give you some. I'll give you some of the relevant information. This is a man who was actually ordained in this presbytery. Now, some of you have been around a long time. You might start doing the math. And if you did the math, just mum's the word for his sake. But he was ordained in this presbytery. He served as an associate pastor in this presbytery for a few years. And now he's been a senior pastor of a congregation, probably the size that Calvary was just a few years ago, about 150. And he's been there for about 7 years. And so he is... He comes to us with a lot of experience. He would come to us with a lot of experience. It's very interesting. He actually, so this is how they kind of found out about this. There was a time when they were actually at Calvary and they got onto the email communique. What do we call it now? The Calvary, whatever thing you get every week. And his wife, so that's a sentence, right? If you get on that email list, you don't get off. So almost a decade later, he's still on the email list. She's still on the email list. And she saw that we were looking for an associate. And he loves the work that he's doing, but he really is interested in more of a associate role, which is unique, right? Oftentimes, associate pastors are looking for more of a senior role, and here he is with a lot of ability and a lot of experience, but wanting to partner in ministry. In our interactions with him, the interview found him to be very, his answers very comprehensive, well thought out, sound, biblical, seems to love people. He loves a lot of one-on-one interaction. It has a lot of interest in counseling and that type of interaction, which is wonderful for a growing congregation. Loves to preach as well. He's married. He has 3 children. He is a graduate of Westminster Seminary. What else can I say? So, the next steps ahead. We are looking at a candidating weekend. So a lot of things are coming together for Calvary all of a sudden. It's a very busy time. April's busy. Here we are electing officers, which is wonderful. A huge step forward. as we move forward. We have a church planning event next month to talk about church planning, and on April 16th to 20, Lord willing, our candidate will be in town. And that'll be your opportunity to meet him, to get to know him and all that, so that you can be in a position to consider, is this who the Lord's calling to be Calvary's associate pastor? There will be time during that candidate weekend for Q&A. He'll be attending various studies and stuff, Sunday school, teaching Sunday school, preaching. Will he be here by himself?
No.
He will not be here by himself, so you'll meet him and his wife, very important. And so that's the dates, April 16th to 20. April 19th, Sunday, April 19th is when we expected to be here. Mark your calendar for that one. And then, actually, if all goes well, we'd like to, unless there's some snafus in there, which is why we do candidating, unless there are, we'd like to push for a congregational vote the following weekend so that we can get him in time for the May Presbytery meeting, so that we're not waiting all the way till the next meeting would be in September. So that's kind of the timeline. Thank the Lord with us for this development. And this is, again, just a little bit of a sneak preview, because we'll be providing you with lots of information soon, hopefully probably within 2 weeks. That's the time he'll have to talk to his congregation and let him know what's going on as well.